This is Lakeside to London. My name is Hamish Beaumont, and joining me from Tonbridge School is Eric Hollingsworth from Athletics Australia, the High Performance Manager. Eric, thank you very much for talking to us. I imagine it's a very busy time for you. Tell us about the setup over there at the school and what's the mood in the team?
Mood's fantastic. We're really enjoying it. We've had I don't know what we would call it in England, but it's certainly been, the weather conditions have been absolutely fantastic. Believe it or not, for the viewers back home, it's been 30 degrees every day since we've been in camp. And it's a big surprise for the team, but a welcome surprise, and that's obviously lifted the spirits of the Aussies. We've got a couple of massive houses. One house is for the coaches, the personal coaches, and all our support crew, and then the other house is with all the athletes together. And it's a 3-4 minute walk to the track, to our swimming pool, to our weight room, through the luscious grounds of Tonbridge School, which is an exclusive private school in Kent.
And you've been doing some work with the 4x1 boys in Cardiff just before you got to the school. How did that go?
Yeah, that was we drove down to Cardiff. The boys wanted to hit out, not primarily for the relay, but also to give their legs a stretch out in the ones and twos. And most of the guys, apart from Anthony Alozi, ran a 1 or a 2. And the conditions were pretty atrocious, to be honest. It was 3-4 metre headwinds and sleet and rain. So, but they competed well. Josh Ross ran really well, showed he was in good shape, ran a 10.50 something, 21.60 for Andrew, and Ntiamoa and Tim Leithart also had a run in the 100 metres. So it's good to get their legs stretched out. And then they ran a really good 4x1 where they beat St Kitts and St Nevis. And for those who don't know, they were the bronze medal winners in last year's World Championships. They were minus Kim Collins, but nevertheless it was a good win, and we won quite comfortably in poor conditions. So the boys changed well, so very, very heartening hit out for them.
Definitely, and Kim Collins is nearly 100 years old, so...
That's correct. You can't be better.
Yeah, and over the next week, what are your roles and responsibilities as the high performance manager? What's your focus between now and the start of competition?
Well, right now, today, I've been going through every athlete, focusing them, checking on their well-being, checking their hydration, if they've got any sniffles, if they've got any issues, what they want to happen for them, what's the perfect ideal preparation from now to the start of their event. Do they want ice vests? Do they want specific times? Some athletes like long warm-ups, some athletes like short warm-ups, working with the personal coaches, working with the team coaches, and coordinating all those aspects in this final run-in for the next couple of days. So we went through all that, and they'll do all those bits and pieces, and then I'll do another check as they enter the village. We'll go through the same protocol as they enter the village to make sure that they're all well and happy and settled, because sometimes when we move from a camp situation to the village situation, it can disturb the rhythm of the team. So we go through that again, and then 48 hours before each person does their event, we do a protocol again to make sure everything's in place. And then, as I say, the rest is up to those guys.
And what's your preference for opening ceremony, no opening ceremony? What's your feeling about how much of the team will go to the ceremony?
It's a personal choice. Each athlete makes a choice themselves. I've always been a great believer that the opening ceremony is a big part of the Olympic experience. Those guys will choose for themselves at the latest count, and bearing in mind that we'll be leaving in 3 hours for the opening ceremony. We only have 17 people staying back at our camp, and then the rest are going to march tonight.
Good stuff. And you've had some very impressive recent results across the disciplines. Mitch Watts looking in superb form. Danny Samuels looking good. Collis, Jeff Risley. There's some people coming into form. Steve Hooker coming into some good form.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't tell you how pleased I am with the way the guys are peaking their performances at the right time. And they certainly all had their last hit-outs. In fact, we've got one more hit-out for a couple of guys tomorrow. Julian Ruck and Scott Martin will go to a local shot discus competition in North London, and Craig will run a mile in Oxfordshire, and then that will be the last of the groups. They're late. They're in the back end of the competition, so they feel they just need to have one more hit-out before that. But the form of all the guys is pretty good, and Alana Boyd just 24 hours ago jumped 463 which again is a superb jump just before the competition. So yes, the team is definitely in really good form. And from a training point of view, those who haven't had competition, they're all training well as well. They're healthy, they're running well. So, all the signs, all the indicators are good for the Olympic Games.
And it's a very high pressure and high focus environment. You've got a lot of media attention. Do you have a team-wide approach to dealing with that pressure, or do you do it athlete by athlete?
No, we had our media day on Monday, which you would have seen the latest pictures where the team photo is, etc., etc. Then I do a media ban from then on in. So no media is allowed onto our team or speaking to our athletes or our coaches from now until the start of competition.
And you had some very impressive results for World Juniors. You'd be, I would imagine, be heartened by some of those results. Looking forward to some very impressive stuff down the track.
Yeah, very impressed with the guys. I was in Barcelona for the week there to check up on the youngsters, to check that the strategies that we've used for the pathway development are starting to bear some fruit, and 5 medals is a fantastic achievement, and notably also a swag of top 8 athletes as well. People who, in championship competition, people like Cedric Dubler, who was 4th, Michelle Janicki, who was in the hurdles final. There were a number of other athletes in the javelin, Luke McCann, Willie White, were in the javelin. So there's a group of athletes who are right there as well. So very encouraging, very pleased for the junior high performance program and the work that they've done. They worked tirelessly over the last 2 years under some pretty strict strategy from me to develop their athletes in a way that makes them very competitive on a world scale. And they've absolutely done that. And I couldn't be more pleased for the group.
And this is the biggest athletics event in the world. Outside the Australians, what are you most looking forward to seeing?
Yeah, that's a difficult one for me because I'm really very focused on the Aussies. But obviously, the standard ones like is Blake going to beat Bolt, or is Asafa or Tyson Gay going to come back?
Yeah,
those are the kind of things in the 100 metres. I'm very keen on the 10K. To see how the Ethiopians and the Kenyans deal with Mo Farah. I think that's going to be a fascinating race, and then see how it's replicated again in the 5K, for me, is one of the massive interest points of the Games. And I think that could sink or swim the British challenge on Mo. So there's a fair amount of pressure on Mo to deliver for the UK in terms of their momentum going into the rest of the Games. So those are a couple of highlights from my point of view. In the field, very interested in the women's javelin with the Czech girl and the Russian, to see who comes out on top in that one, and a little interested in the men's shot put to see if the German can replicate his unbelievable competition last year.
Stroll, yes, he was very impressive, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And I would imagine this gets to the stage now where you've essentially done most of your work. It very quickly ends up in the hands of the athletes, and
yeah, not quite. There's still a fair bit of work to do. I only feel like my job's done once I've got them in the call room. Up until then, there's so many things, for those who have been to championships, there's so many things that can happen. So I start to relax only a little bit when each athlete's in the call room. But obviously, as soon as they finish the race and they've done their heat, we're back onto red alert, looking after them, making the recovery procedures correct so that they can get ready for the next round and go again. And some of the recovery periods are reasonably short. The 400, for the first time for a while, is 3 straight days for Stephen Solomon. Yeah. Obviously, we've got the semi-finals and the finals for Sal on the same evening. Yeah. So there's still quite high intensity pressure on the team, the medical staff particularly, the recovery and the massage. So there's still a lot of work. Let's say that I'll be starting to relax a little bit once the 3 male marathon runners finish on the last day.
It's a long period to wait then. Good luck. We'll be cheering you on from Australia, and hopefully it all goes well.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.